everybody. Welcome back for this post-mortem episode of Figure It Out, the show where we talk about the 2025 DFW GI Joe action figure collectors convention that we went to and are hopefully recovered from physically, but financially we may not. I'm Joe, and with me tonight talking about this are Mike and Tyler. Fellas, how are y'all doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Found my razor, got a new one, so I'm not unsh- an unshaven heathen
Unshorn?
like I was. What?
Unshorn?
Yeah,
Unkept.
Scruffy
unkept
looking.
like I
As
unkept like I was at Dallas JoeCon.
Terry Fisher would say, scruffy looking.
Yeah.
Ruffy looking nerf herder. Well, what about you, Tyler?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Physically recovered, emotionally probably not. Still a little still in the feels, a little bit in the feels there, but financially definitely not. But hey, had a great time and already looking forward to next year.
Right on. Well, before we get into the coverage, let's talk new acquisitions, guys.
Okay.
What did y'all get? Now, to clarify, we're gonna go new acquisitions, not JoeCon related.
Mike, do you want to
So,
go
Mike,
first or
yeah, Mike, let's start with
Yeah,
you.
I'll go first. So, Blowtorch classified series.
fire?
Yeah. The red and yellow pop, and it's always cool to me. Plus, the idea that there's someone out there that is his specialty is just burning things and deciding on which things need to be burned. So I think it's a different skill set that not everyone would think about. So I like that. Hopefully they'll
Yes.
release a retro version that is more true to the colors. And you guys have been fig hunting with me, and you know I don't really do a ton of wishful thinking on the retro line, but this would be one that I would get. So the other one, man, this one's so cool. And I was a prime on the Cybertron game, and so I really dig Silverbolt.
Ooh.
Ooh,
Ooh.
And
Oh. Oh. That's beautiful.
so he is really cool looking. I got two of these, so
You can open
I
one, huh?
can I can open one and
yep.
assemble Superior.
I like it.
So, like I said, I don't get a lot of stuff, but man, when I go in deep. So, man, I'm definitely gonna do an unboxing of that, and maybe Joe will also film the him assembling the Superion for me later down the line. So,
Sounds good.
but that's my new acquisitions. I actually have something for this segment, so write the date down.
Yeah, you've been living that clean life here recently.
Yeah, and I got a new razor, so good stuff. Tyler, what you got, bud?
Boy, I've got a few non-JoeCon related acquisitions. Maybe one that's like JoeCon adjacent we could talk about. But first, I'll
Yeah.
talk about my friend's his Scrapper and Bone Crusher that will one day
Time
in
out.
the
Why are they still in the package? That is unlike
well
Tyler.
here the real
Probably
question.
waiting.
Well,
It's probably waiting to get everyone else.
yeah, they're
Okay.
coming out of the package when I can build Devastator. Like these guys exist to form Devastator.
So
So I
there's
don't,
there's no inkling in you to open them.
not right
You're
now.
okay waiting.
And I'll some of that will become clear as we go through the list here, throughout the JoeCon stuff too. Because part of the part of the reality is life. It was a great trip. We'll talk about that later. But life hit me pretty hard when I came back with a bunch of stuff, and so I have not really had time In fact, I can tell you, I have, other than a couple things that I unboxed in the car on the way home, I have unboxed nothing that I got at JoeCon. I have not had time. So, but anyway, so I got Scrapper Bone Crusher. I picked up I think the 60th anniversary classified, the sniper. She's
Oh
not
yeah,
a
yeah.
like I'm not a name Joe, but the generic 60th. Super cool character. Her sniper rifle stuff set aside right now, but super cool. Very happy with this fig. Really.
Maybe your daughter can give her a story.
Well, she might. I'll tell you one thing. That's the well. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm gonna wait. But one of the things that interested me at JoeCon that I really wanted to kind of go look at again. We saw previews of it last year, and it hadn't been released yet. Um, but the Valaverse, the Vanguard, their vehicle, had been released and was on sale and was out there in the world to be had. So we got to look at one of those at JoeCon. We'll talk a little bit more about that booth later. But long story short, they had a bundle that was unfortunately sold out when we got there. So I didn't buy anything then, but it did inspire me when I got home to start picking up a few of these Action Force characters. So gotta get my camera here. This is Colonel Siege. So I'm excited to
Oh,
get
neat.
him out of the box, take a look at him. I've got a theme here. We'll talk about in a minute, but you might be able to start picking up on it. This is the guy called Sidewinder, and his box is open. I didn't open him. This is how he arrived.
Ooh,
Sorry, I can't get this in the camera. This is how he arrived from Amazon. Pieces are all there, but he showed up split in half from Amazon. So, you know, not that anybody watching this doesn't already know this, but if you're a new inbox, if you're a mid box guy like my friend Mike there, don't buy your stuff from Amazon, especially if it's a a package like that. It's going to be damaged. It's 100% going to be damaged. You are not going to get it in good condition. And then I did one more naughty. Um,
oh, you got it.
I picked up the Vanguard with the rocket launcher upgrade.
Attachment.
Yeah. This was the package that I wanted to get at the con. They had one more of these gray Vanguards without mud. I don't like the pre-muddied ones. Not my thing. But they had one more of these, but they didn't have the rocket launcher that was part of the quote unquote con package. Um, so anyway, I picked that up and I plan to do a review video on this. I don't know. We need to talk about how we're gonna format that, but I do plan to do a review video on this vehicle in the very near future. So stay tuned for that. If you're interested in any of the Balaber stuff, stick around. Let's talk because I am too. And I've got some really good things to say and some things to maybe some areas where it's like, hey, here's where they could do a little bit better. But anyway, we'll talk about that. So I have plans in the near future to do some photography. I like that the Vanguard, specifically that vehicle, when you take the missile launcher off and just put the regular cap on it, on the top of it, could easily pass as a civilian vehicle. And you'll notice that the figures that I was picking up are civilian clothed. So I have some thoughts on a series of storytelling via photographs that I'd like to put together, leveraging some of those pieces. So stick around for that if that's something that you guys are interested in. And
Right on.
I think that's all of my non JoeCon scores.
All right. Well, as far as my non-Joe-Con scores, either coincidentally enough or ironically enough, are all like mostly all Joes. So, first thing, uh, heavy
That
duty
heavy
came
duty?
in.
Yeah.
Yep. I I'm not letting myself take anything out of the box yet because I feel like I've got to feed the content monster. But I've also been doing a bunch of terrain building for the Halo Flashpoint tabletop. So my hobby area and desk is an absolute just chaotic mess. But uh, and then we got what's
Ooh,
this dial
dial
tone,
tone.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the thing that I'm probably the most excited about is I got an email a little while ago that from Jazzwares saying that the third and final member of Red Team, Douglas 042, is now available from the Spartan collection. And so what this means is not only is my Red Team complete, but I think I am actually going to call it on my Halo action figures because I have all of Blue Team, all of Noble Team, and now all of Red Team, plus some random smatterings of Spartans. So I think I'm calling it, boys.
That's a pretty good place to shut it down. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. Although the thing that bothers me the most is there's no little eyelet so I can hang it. So I'm gonna have
But
to
you just gonna
figure.
have to open it.
Let me see what Figure Shield has.
Yeah. So because I could just glue a piece of something onto the back, like because I know Figure Shield has those little things that they sell,
Yeah.
but I don't know how to attach it without just either super gluing it or what. But that might have to happen.
So let me see if there's an external case that can go around it, and then you can put the tab on it. Anyway, so what if, Joe? What if they release vehicles for that line? Are you still going to be retired from it?
No, I mean if they come out with a Warthog, Pelican, and or I almost said Sheila, the
the,
Scorpion.
the tank. Sheila's
uh,
appropriate.
Obviously, like
The Puma,
uh,
Sheila.
yeah. So I would definitely dip my toe in for that, just because I know that the vehicles would be few and far between
There you
because
go.
they have not been the most reliable as far as letting the customer base know where and when to find the product. It just kind of happens. Which I mean, I get it. Like it's ready when it's ready. But I did get an email about the availability of the figure going up, and unlike a certain uh, intellectual property farm, they instead of pre-orders, it was just a straight order, and it shipped within the next like a day or two, and it was in my home over the after the weekend. So that was pretty cool and not something I'm used to because we come from the side of the fence where there's overlapping pre-orders, and pre-orders that remain open for a year and a half are not unheard of.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
That's
just it was a nice change of pace. But yeah, so I'm excited to close the chapter on my Spartan collection. I still like getting the 4-inch World of Halo guys. I'm still I'll still be on the market for those, but I have a backlog of paying Mike back for pre-orders that I need to get cracking on. So I'm probably gonna have to be good for a little bit, but that's enough being good. Let's talk about being bad, specifically being bad at JoeCon. And when I say being bad at JoeCon, I don't mean causing a ruckus and getting kicked out, making a fool of ourselves. I mean just having a good time. And so
Tyler was approaching it.
but yeah, well we'll talk about that. But yeah, it's but here's the thing, I was mad at myself. I'm not mad at anybody. I'm mad
Yeah,
at myself. And
totally get it.
it's even worse when you're mad at yourself because I have nobody to blame but me. And
Yeah.
so, I have to just sit there and just it burned me up a little bit, but did not put any kind of damper on the trip. The trip was wonderful. Great
and
experience.
and if you have no idea what we're talking about, you can feel free to pause this video, go back to our last video where we do our Dallas vlog of where we were running around getting in adventures. If you can make it through the lackluster audio and video quality, you'll kind of be there and kind of know what we're talking about with a lot of this stuff. But without further ado, guys, let's just get into it.
Let's do that.
Drive there. Drive there was pretty uneventful. The new location was pretty all right. Thought we were
Yeah.
gonna have to pay for parking, but wound up not having to.
Yeah, that was really cool
Yeah.
of the hotel and the people that put the convention on. That was cool.
Yeah. That was a win. Great. By the way, shout out. That location was a huge upgrade over last year.
Yeah,
Please, more of that, please.
That was really cool. The venue, the layout, man, it was really cool. They did such a good job. I know we live in a
sure.
world where it's just more popular to trash things, but there's nothing to trash, and I'd rather be honest. They did a really good job.
It was good.
So we get there, we get checked in, we get our little armbands, and we start walking around. And it was a lot to take in, especially whenever you go from the little like main entryway and then you turn and then you are hit with the vendor room, and it's just like a sensory overload of plastic and people.
Yeah.
But Michael wasted no time. Tyler and I got to talking to some people on our way in, but Michael wasted no time whatsoever. He was
I mean,
man on
in
a
my
mission.
defense, it was the layout. Because as soon as you walked into the large vendor room, like Greg Berger was right there. That was like my prime objective, and it was right there. He was sitting in the booth. Man, let me get this autograph knocked out. You know, like he was so nice to talk to. It was awesome. Meeting Spirit and Grimlock and Skyfire, and like you go on with his resume, and for him to sign your stuff and take a few minutes of his time to chat with you was pretty cool. Yeah.
Keon Young was really cool too. The voice of many characters, but like we were there for Storm Shadow.
Yeah. Keon Young was a dude. He was a dude.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
So
go ahead. Sorry.
I wound up not getting anything signed just because the price point for that was beyond my level of comfort. But I love seeing them, and they also had because they knew that they were going to be together. They actually had one of the cover artists for the comic book do like a little like picture of Spirit and Storm Shadow fighting, so you could get both of their autographs on the same thing, which I thought was really cool. And also the artwork looked outstanding.
I was sorely tempted to get that and have him sign it. The reason I didn't, I'll tell you guys a story. You got a second for story time? Can we do story time? We got a second?
Let's do story time,
here.
Man.
So back in the day, when I was a youngster, and my mom worked her butt off for us. We were pretty poor. We lived in my parents were divorced, and we lived in a little duplex in Oklahoma City, and my mom was working multiple jobs just to kind of pay bills and put food on the table for us. And she had an opportunity, I think through one of her jobs, got tickets way back in the day when the AAA ball club in Oklahoma was the 89ers. It has since been, it was the 89ers, then it was the Red Hawks, then it was the Dodgers, then now I don't even know what it is now.
It's the Comets.
Comets, okay. Well, way back in the day when it was the 89ers, they were the farm team for the Texas Rangers, and the Texas Rangers came to the ballpark to play in the 89ers stadium. That was the closest I was going to get to a Major League Baseball game. Mom couldn't afford that. So, long story short, one of the players at the time who came with the Rangers was Jose Canseco. And I was a big baseball fan. And so I had brought a baseball, and I was hoping to see him and get him to sign it. And turned out there was an opportunity to run down in the corner by the dugout, and there was a whole bunch of kids gathered, trying to get stuff signed, and guys were coming out, all kinds of Texas Rangers. They were coming out signing, anything you wanted, no big deal. You were getting them all, and then finally Jose Canseco walked out, and I yelled at him. I was like, "Mr. Canseco, will you sign my baseball?" And he looked at me and he said, "Sure, kid." $25. Broke my
Well,
heart. Like, dude, I don't have $25. We wouldn't be here if we didn't get free tickets. Like I can't even approach $25 for everybody else over here signing stuff left and right. And I just, that just, it hurt my feelings. And that makes me mad. Like, you hurt my feelings. My response to that is anger, and it really made me mad. And ever since then, it's like, I won't pay anybody for an
Yeah.
autograph. I will not pay for it. Sorry, I won't. And I have autographs, multiple autographs from Nolan Ryan, Mark McGuire, Tom Landry. Like, I've got autographs from. I don't have a bunch of autographs. I don't have like a huge collection, guys, but I have like 6 Nolan Ryan autographs. My favorite ball player. Um, he never charged me for any of them. I got them all in person from him. He never charged me for one of them, and I'm like looking at Jose Canseco, like, you're not 2% the ball player that Nolan Ryan was, and you wanted $25 for your autograph. You joke. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
That's my trauma dump. That's my little story time. So, unfortunately for me, when I walked in there and saw that they were charging for autographs, I was like, no, I'm out. And I'm not saying there's anything bad about those people. I'm not putting them in that category of Canseco. At the time, Canseco was big time. He did not need any money. He was making millions of dollars. Those guys are not. So I don't begrudge anybody coming out and looking to make a living, and capitalizing on some great stuff they did for us when we were kids. But I'm also not going to pay for your autograph.
like I was I was naive and I was just like, oh, it's like adjusted for this year. It's it's still probably like $25 for an autograph. Like I would have shelled that out, but I just ah, like I
Weren't it
got
like $60 per
yeah
autograph or something?
yeah it was,
Yeah.
and it's like I'm not a single guy anymore, So
Yeah,
I,
I get
That's a
that.
lot.
it's like
That's a lot.
but and also I've kind of just the moment that did it for me, that whenever I soured on like getting autographs, was it was 10 years ago, and we were at a convention in Tulsa, and the Undertaker was going to be there signing autographs, and I was geeked up, even though I was a WCW, like I still am a WCW guy. Sting is my boy. It's the Undertaker, so I pay for an autograph. I think it was like $50, which I was like, this is steep, but I'm also like unwed, and I don't have it. Like, I don't think I have any prospects, and it's just, I'm just gonna do it while I can. And so go up there, get in line for, like, it's like, okay, like, this is the line for the Undertaker's autograph, and it is wrapped around and just snaking. And we're at this convention, and I'm standing in this line, and it is like, cue like the little SpongeBob thing of like 4 hours later. They're just like shooing people through this line, and it's just like I finally get up to it, and select my little 8x10. He, it's like they slide it out, like I think it's like one of the refs is kind of like his handler, and like
Yeah.
hands it over, and he's like, all right, who's this for? And meanwhile, this poor, like, as even though I'm like, I've been standing in line for 4 hours for the autograph of one dude. Like, what? Like, I had a lot of time to kind of rethink my life choices
Eh.
to that point. But and it's as I got up there, it was just like, I wanted to have like one of those like little bottles of Jack Daniels, and like put it on the table and be like, tell me your favorite wrestler's court story. But there was no time for that. It was volume. It was
Yeah.
Yeah.
quantity over quality. So it was, but by the time I got to him, man, he'd been signing autographs and meeting people for 4 hours straight. And as an
Yeah.
introvert myself, that's my nightmare.
Yeah.
And so by
Yeah.
the time we got to each other, we were both just exhausted, and I think they were getting ready to have to leave to get on the private jet and go, I think, out to the West Coast for like one of the pay-per-views or something. So I was like, Yeah, man, maybe I'm done with autographs for forever. uh,
So I'm gonna defend myself.
Yeah,
no, there's
you
nothing to defend. Like
no,
it's
there's nothing wrong with going
yeah,
and getting on. Like it is okay. It's
Because
just that
yeah.
experience from my childhood, just like Joe's had an experience that just soured me on it. But
Yeah.
there's not a thing wrong with it.
But if there was
there's a
anybody who
few
was worth
things.
it, like Keon Young and
Yeah,
Greg
exactly.
Berger,
Yeah.
Like
like
Greg Berger voiced some of my favorite characters, so automatically that puts him ahead. And there was no line, so I was full. That those two things really kind of made it a no brainer. Storm
yeah,
Shadow, getting a Storm Shadow figure signed. Once again, Storm Shadow's complex, in my opinion, for a villain in a cartoon. So like he has an arc. He goes from being a bad guy, and then you find out that he was essentially lied to, and he has an
Tyler's
arc
favorite
and
type of
redemption.
story.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
redemption arc. Oh my gosh, how unique. I do like Storm Shadow's story. Like I'm on
yeah.
board with Storm Shadow.
And so you see him go through a progression. Also, the Spirit Storm Shadow fight, that was like so cool looking because it was like it had a little bit of fight psychology. Like Spirit didn't automatically know how to do black belt karate. He was doing some judo and some street fighting. So I thought I always loved that. But
Uh,
there's a few people that I because I wanted to get another autograph from Kevin Conroy, and that's not going to happen. So that's why, like, there's there's certain people that I'll make that exception for.
no, there's not a thing wrong with that, dude. There's
Yeah.
okay. Keon Young, speaking of walking into JoeCon, first of all, shout out to Jeff at Nowhere Man Child Toys. We walked into him. Joe and I were chatting with him in the hallway before we actually got into the convention hall proper, and he recognized us from watching
Uh,
our pre JoeCon episode. So
that was the
that was kind of
highlight.
cool.
Yeah, that was worth
That
the
was
whole
pretty
trip
cool.
alone.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
So
So shout out to you, Jeff. Thank you for that. And I
yeah.
apologize. I didn't make my way back to you uh, to talk to you about that classified Serpentor. Hopefully, by the end of this, when I have told my stories, it will make sense as to why my head was not in that space by the time I left the JoeCon. So anyway, good to meet you. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Oh, and what I was saying is but you walk in the convention and the first thing I see there is Keon Young. And I think Joe, you were still chatting with Jeff, and I walked in there and I was kind of just hanging out in that intro area, kind of waiting. And Keon Young just starts chatting me up. And I'm like, all right, what's up? And I didn't have anything intelligent to say to that guy, but it was cool to talk with him and realize, hey, this is just guys being dudes. Like he was just being cool and chatting. And I didn't realize that he played the baseball character in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which is my all-time favorite Star Trek show. And I didn't realize that was him that played that. I can't remember the name of I think, was it Tanaka? I can't remember the name of the ball player in that, but he played that episode. He had some of those little baseball cards on his table, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was you. Didn't realize he was the head of the Chinese folks in Deadwood. Didn't realize that was him. Like I didn't know this was Keon Young that did all of this. So that was neat to see. And he did point out that that fight with Storm Shadow and Spirit. He pointed out that artwork. And just thinking maybe not. I mean, if anybody at the conference watches this, like here's just a little food for thought, guys. $50 for an autograph is a lot of money. That's a lot of money for an autograph. But if you had something like that where you have the voice of Spirit and Keon Young, the voice of Storm Shadow, why don't you charge $60 and get both autographs? Like, hey, whichever table you go to first, if you pay the 60 and they sign it, you could take it to the other guy and he would sign the other half automatically without having to take and at the end of the day, they could just split the cash. That would be an idea. Like that's something I might have actually done as opposed as I am to paying for autograph because that would have been pretty cool. But anyway, that's Neither here nor there. Just thinking outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure how all of that kind of like pricing like breakdown and like how much they're able to actually like keep and like what the percentages are. Like I have no idea how any of
Yeah.
that stuff works. So I'm sure that
It
it like the numbers for that weekend were agreed upon and they were worked out, but it just at the end of the day it was just too rich for my blood. But
well,
I wish I could have, but I just couldn't I couldn't pull the
Yeah.
trigger on it. But
well, and if you look at all those tables where all the guys were doing autographs, in the time we were there, which granted was probably 3 hours in what would have been the rush hour on Saturday, there was never a line at any of those tables that I saw. So, I do think that the price had a lot to do with why people weren't lining up to go get that. And, maybe you make a switch and say, hey, gosh, maybe I signed 50 autographs at $60, but maybe I sign 150 autographs at $30. I'm going to come out ahead if it's a little cheaper,
Yeah.
but I get more. Just again, I don't know how this
Yeah.
works. Somebody's hopefully doing the analytics and looking at that and doing the math, but just seems to me like that could be done a little bit because they obviously weren't super busy with autographs. Those guys were not. I mean, Keel Young was chatting it up with me for like 15 minutes, you know, probably wasn't
Yeah.
15 minutes, probably closer to like 5 or 6 minutes. But I mean, and nobody came to his table to get an autograph in that entire time. So,
well, I think they were probably focused on buying plastic,
well,
which is what we were there to do. So after that, I honestly it just kind of became a blur of losing Tyler and just walking around.
Yeah, what was up with that, dude? Like you would just smoke bomb and just disappear.
listen, the first thing I'll say, or not the first thing I'll say about the conference, I've said a bunch about it already, but so much more stuff than last year. Um,
Oh my gosh, yes.
so much more to go look at, so much more to consume. I mean, there were 2 flags on display for sale. Last year there was one with a gentleman asking what I would say is an obscene price for it. This year there was 2. I didn't get the price on one of them. The other one, the price was very reasonable. It was very reasonable. So, that's just one example of like how much better the fair was at this show. So yeah, I mean, I would just wander into a booth and get lost looking around. So wasn't trying to lose you guys. I would just see, squirrel. I got to go check this out. Got to go check this out. And a lot of those booths were really good size. So it was easy to kind of wander in there. And sometimes, frankly, you get stuck because the
Yeah.
entrance is pretty small. So you get in there, and somebody come in behind you, and it's like I can't get out. I need you to move so I
Tyler
can
was
walk out of here.
he was that uncontrollable toddler. And it's
Yeah.
like you got to lecture all the time.
Yeah.
Don't go by yourself. Stick close.
Oh, I mean, it's weird because he's not like a toddler because like he's a grown man.
Yeah.
Like that's why we're here. Like
I've
go nuts.
I've seen you get on to my nephews for that same reason.
Well, I've
So-
had to get onto your nephews because they don't listen. Anyway,
There was a
oh
lot.
well,
There was a
they're
lot to see, guys. There was, I mean, the
Oh man, there
kudos
was
to the
so
vendors. They
much.
brought a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so. I'll tell you my highlight was I think it might have been one of the times where we were trying to find Tyler and Mike and I were dividing and conquering and I was walking down by the back wall and I run into Guy Cassidy who was one of the like big vehicle designers from back in the day and like he designed the Rolling Thunder, the Skystorm, the Persuader, and the Mobile Command Center. And he just like I was walking past him, and it was almost like he chose me. He was like, "Hey, we're gonna talk for a few minutes," and so it was a lovely little chat. He was telling me about the like kind of his design philosophies for a lot of the vehicles and also that they had these really cool like 11 by 17 pictures where if the developer or whoever was working on GI Joe at the time if they had an action figure that was based on their likeness, they had the original mock-up in an 11 by 17 that you could buy, and they would sign it. And he was the kind of face model for cross country, and so they had cross country's like little like a original kind of mock-up, like figure mock-up, that he was like had stacks of. Yeah, he was just just a kind gentleman in every sense of the word, and that was one of my favorite moments of the whole con, was just sitting in or staying in and talking with him. But also, so speaking of those, Michael actually got one of those signed.
Which one
Good
did you
one.
get, Mike?
Law and Orders. It was really neat, especially, you know, my 1A or 1B GI Joe. Because I'm not going to tell you one is my favorite. I'm going to tell you two are my favorite, and that's Spirit and Law and Order. So,
Yeah, it was
and I got my
Kirk
Spirit
Boz.
signed. So,
Yeah,
like, I got both of them taken care of.
That's
It
awesome.
was pretty cool. Yeah.
it was at Kirk Bosnigan's table, and he was the product manager of GI Joe from 1982 to 1986. So that is like peak a real
That is,
American hero. So
yep. We can give him credit for all the good stuff and blame everybody else for the. Because after that, it's where it started kind of tilting down.
Yeah.
yeah, like I love the '90s. I love the neon '90s, but neon doesn't belong in GI Joe.
No,
So,
no,
but
no.
let's see here. What else? Mike got a Baroness autograph from one Mr. Ron Rudat, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. That was awesome.
So that's enough of the preamble. Let's get to the main event. Let's get to the
Yeah.
decisions that were made and the money that was spent.
I feel like we should start with Tyler.
Well, let's work up to Tyler. We're not gonna let's build up. Let's
Okay.
build up. So let's start with
So,
me. I bought nothing at the JoeCon.
and why was that?
I just didn't see anything. Just nothing
Yeah.
really jumped out at me. Like it was cool. Like there was a couple times where I saw like one of the OG, like one of the original Generation 2 Grimlocks just like hanging out. And then
Mm-hmm.
I also saw one of the the Arctic Batman from the '89 Batman movie that you had, that I played with so much that it went from white and black to like
Like a
dirty tan,
dingy.
like a
Yeah.
beige, just from my grubby,
Yeah.
dirty little 5-year-old fingers.
It's probably just
So
nothing but Doritos on that thing now.
pretty much, yeah, Doritos and Dr. Pepper. But yeah, I don't know, nothing. There's nothing I couldn't like
So, we were
walk away
talking
from.
earlier about how much you like the 25th anniversary stuff, and you didn't see a lot of that stuff there. And I don't recall seeing a lot of that stuff there either, or Dallas Vintage for that
No,
matter.
there was only like maybe 5 or 6 that I saw, maybe between the two places, and
Yeah.
they were I either already had them or I didn't want them or need them.
I think
Yeah.
some of, and we can talk about more of this later, but I do think I did hear multiple vendors talk about, because Joe Fest was like the weekend before that in Georgia, and a lot of
Hmm.
those vendors were there before they came to the DFW show. I
Ah,
think there's a little bit of unfortunate timing there where they were like, yeah, we sold a lot of stuff there, and of course haven't replenished
Mm.
anything in the week coming up to this. So I wonder if there were some guys out there snatching up a bunch of 25th, because that did surprise me that we didn't see very much of that.
yeah.
Yeah. Also, some of it could have been is there was like an early bird thing on Friday,
Yeah.
so they might have done a lot of their business there. But I was gonna say, if you like that 25th anniversary, I know you have that Storm Shadow from Hiya Toys, and I have
Hmm.
that Tiger Force Flint
Flint.
that is just awesome looking. So I
I've
think I
also got the
might go off.
Beachhead.
I think I might go off the cliff, man, and start really diving into those Hiya Toys figures. And
The only
Tyler,
problem with
you are welcome to join us.
So the only problem I have with the Haya toys is they are really good looking, and I want to take them out of the package. But I can't bring myself to, because they're so scarce and hard to get and hard to find. Like you have to buy them online only. Like you cannot find them anywhere in a physical
That's the
store.
thing is modern day and stuff like that, where it's essentially a high priced export. If you take them out of the package, that like where it goes from 100% to 35%, man, that's a little grayer than it's been in the past, in my opinion. So there's still like a 50 to 60% possibility on those harder to find exports. But it's like I think due to COVID, man, a lot of the loose figure stuff, that gap has kind of closed in, because normally it was like if something was loose, whether it's a repack or not, that's 35% starting, and depending
Yeah.
on what equipment is missing, your percentage is going to go down. But like since COVID, I think it's more up around 50 to 60. Maybe I'm crazy. So it's like,
Nope.
and on top of that, it's a higher price, and there's only a certain amount of a window. So like you could potentially get 60 to 70% on a loose figure for that. And that's interesting. If you get it on the ground level, with like, I think it's Cool Toys that I use, you're paying $25, and you're going to make more than that if you ever decide to sell it. And I don't see Joe selling a lot of toys. It's not like you're a flipper.
Especially loose
And
toys. Like once it's loose, I've already decided like this is going to the grave with me.
Yeah.
Like, so,
And
and that's
you can
also another
always
thing. Like I just it's to the point now where I look at a toy and like I'm holding it. I'm like, this is really cool. I'm going to take this out of the package, but I'm going to put it where all of my loose toys go, and I'm going to carry on about my day. Like, is this really worth it?
Yeah. And with that 25th anniversary stuff that Hiya Toys sells, man, they're upgraded. Like they look like they should be out of the package. And so, and they're not, they're the same price as a classified series. So it's like you could get two and it wouldn't kill you, because if you ever decided to sell them, you could, get your money back and then some, even on a loose figure. Because I don't see that stuff being loose in a couple of years, being you just getting $25 for a loose figure that's out of print, and you're not going to be able to get it in the States. So you're going to make money even on a loose figure. So that's just my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but man, that Hiya stuff looks really cool.
Yeah.
And
I
also
really
their
like
Godzilla line is interesting.
I really like the design choices that they did with Storm Shadow, because he has like a full sleeve of tattoos, and it just the colors pop and it looks really really good.
You guys are Beachhead fans. How do you like your Beachheads?
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
I don't think there's
Really?
a single bad beachhead figure, maybe ever.
I love it.
And
It's
Tyler,
beautiful.
I'm curious, is yours still in the package?
It is right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I actually I'm a similar dilemma to Joe. Like I want to open this so bad, but I also like I want to appreciate it brand new, untouched, pristine.
Yeah.
So that's been a struggle for me. And I have
Yeah.
not opened it. And it's very unusual for me. Very unusual for me.
Because I'm curious if if you had paid the $25, if you had knew about it and I wasn't being selfish, just so I could get you a cool present, would you have bought another one for $25 and just opened it?
Yep. Exactly what I would have done. It's exactly what I would have done.
I
You know
I
what
don't think
time to
I
think about it, Tyler?
That's what I would have
yeah,
done. And that's but yeah, yeah, it's
that's
gorgeous.
also another sticking point in those for me. Like they've got to come down at least $10 before I, because it's very much, to me it's very much like the Star Wars Vintage Collection and Black Series collection. Like Black Series is like the 6-inch offering. It's 20 started out as 20, now it's like $25, plus you
Yeah.
get like the more deluxe ones that are expensive. I get that makes sense, but because then you have the vintage collection where it's the 3 3/4, like 4-inch, and they were like $10. Now they're upwards of like 15. But that makes sense though, because they're smaller in scale. It's less plastic, less material. Like that makes
Yeah.
sense. But the Hiya toys being the same price as classified and smaller, just I can't make that make
the
sense in my
way
head.
the way I look at it is the place that we get them through, they're gonna have that pass through price. You know,
Yeah.
because it's not like we can just order it ourselves. You got to pay someone to get it for you, and the $15 plus the $10. I look at that as, hey man, thank you for being a source for us and not ripping us off and actually letting me trust you, because I'm sure there's other places out there that would charge you more than $10 and would just rip you off.
Yeah.
I've
That's
heard
fair.
horror stories about stuff like that. And, like when I got my Flint, it came right away. It was packaged well. It wasn't opened. And they took their time shipping it. Not in a bad way, but like packaging. I meant to say they packaged it real well again. And it sucks, but man, I'd rather go through a reputable dealer and pay that extra $10 to say, "Hey, man, thank you," because it's hard to get those figures and get those figures from a reputable dealer.
Yeah. So getting back to Joe Con or the Joe show. Yeah, I didn't get anything. Mike, what all did you get?
So I finally got off my butt, so our listeners will stop hearing about this. But I got Tiger Force Lifeline
There he
at
is.
Dallas Vintage.
Oh, we're okay.
So,
Yeah. Well, if we're including Dallas Vintage, I actually did get something at Dallas Vintage. But
oh, okay.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to
So
mess up the program.
the flow, yeah, no, you're good. So Dallas Vintage,
Man,
I got I got Huffer because he's one of the OG Autobots that I still needed to get
oh my
fill out
gosh,
my
you guys
collection.
aren't opening your stuff.
Gotta feed the content monster. It's gonna happen.
Ah,
I need.
okay. I get what you're putting
So
down now.
I just
yeah.
need time. I just need time.
You don't get that, Tyler. You don't get that at all.
I
Yeah.
don't.
How
It's
dare you
I don't.
think you can get some time?
Although honestly, I think I might just open them and throw them on the shelf because I don't think anybody's really trying to watch an unboxing video of Huffer. You know,
Well, I'm curious now how many people would actually watch a Huffer. So,
Now you have to do it.
curious. Now you have to do
we'll
it.
see. We'll see. But
I want to see the statistics.
so you got the Tiger Force Lifeline. Finally, called your shot.
Yep.
Good deal. Was that all you got? I can't remember because you basically just
That's all
went
I
in on
got,
the
and the
autograph.
other autographs. Yeah.
Okay, so now for the main course. Tyler, were you able to make it out of Texas without spending any money?
No, absolutely not. No, fail miserably. Fail. Not that my goal was to do that, but yeah, if it had
Mission
been, I would
failed
have.
successfully.
Yeah,
All right,
correct. It would have been
one
a.
second before we get too far. Our listeners need to know this about Tyler. Tyler, when we stop at Quick Trips on our way, he always gets the best smelling food, and I'm always a little jealous of when he gets it. What do you get? I know they're like, are they taquitos or something like that?
Yeah, they're like the taquitos. Yeah, so I got a spicy chicken and a steak taquito this time, and I had, in my defense, I hadn't eaten anything, and it was like, I don't know, 12:30 or something in the early afternoon. So,
Man,
but yeah, I had to fuel up a little bit because I figured I'd be
it
walking around
smelled
that
so
con.
good, and then you looked at the cheese, and I was like, man, come on. That looks so good. Gas station taquitos.
They're good.
I,
Yeah, I mean, you could say it's a little risky, but Quick Trip's pretty
I
reliable.
was
So
tempted because Quick Trip had the 2 hot dogs and a drink for $5. Like that's tempting. Like,
it's a good deal.
but anyway, sorry, I jacked the
It's okay.
I jacked it again. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Tyler. My bad.
no, you're good. Tell a couple stories. I believe a good fig hunt deserves a good story. So, first things first. And my methodology here was to kind of cruise the con, see everything that was available, kind of game plan out, what made sense, because you can't just start grabbing stuff and spending right away. Because what'll happen is you'll run out of budget, and then you'll only be halfway through, and you'll find stuff on the second half that you actually wanted more than some of the stuff you got on the first half. So, we talked about disappearing. Like part of what I was trying to do was canvas everything and kind of figure out what I wanted, where it was, and what stuff of all the things I saw that I wanted, which ones were I actually, how do I fit this into my budget that I've set aside for myself? And the one thing that I did see that I was ready to buy on site, not going to wait, don't need to look at everything else. Like, let's go. We came across, of all things at JoeCon, a 2-pack of Skywarp and Thundercracker. And these are the best, in my opinion, the best molds I've ever seen of those two. I have them already, but this is like a buy on site if it's reasonably priced for me because I love the Seekers and I wanted them. They're cool. It's a super cool mold. Like it's amazing. It's the Coronation Starscream mold, which uh
It's the F-15 mold, not the Cybertronian airplane
correct.
mode.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
And freaking just anyway, I saw the 2-pack. I'm like, man, I haven't seen one of these in the box ever. And so I walked up to the booth and picked it up, and a guy walked over to me, and he's like, he was, I was talking to him, and I said, "How much do you want for this?" And he goes, "Well, it's my friend's here. Let me ask him." And he looked over at his buddy, and he goes, "How much you want for that?" And his buddy looked at him and goes, $55. And I was like, "Bet."
like
So I'm getting ready
handing
to pay
money
him.
over. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm getting really reaching in my pocket to get my wallet, and his friend who I was talking to looked at him and goes, "Oh no, that's not enough. You got to ask. You got to get more." Look at him. He's reaching for his wallet. You got to get him more. And the guy's like, "Oh, okay, $100." I'm out. $100 is actually a reasonable price for that, but I'm out. That is not. I am not going to do business that way. That is a very crappy thing to do. That is just a really that's a poor way to treat people. Look, you show up to a con, you bring items, you bring your stuff, you're responsible. You should know what you're asking for your stuff. You should know that before somebody comes up and starts asking you to try to buy it. And his friend's response was, two things. First of all, that's too much. You need to ask more. Well, he's asking what he wants for it, man. That's his decision, not your decision. You try to look out for the guy. I get it. But that's not you. That's him. And second of all, your reasoning behind that is, look, he's reaching for his wallet. Are you here to sell stuff? Did you bring this stuff to sell it, or do you just is this a behold my stuff? I'm not selling it. Because if you're here to sell stuff, people reaching for their wallet is exactly what you want. So saying that as if it's a bad thing that I'm going to buy it from you,
most
stupid.
definitely not the move.
Yeah, that really torqued me off. And I'm using polite language because we're trying to keep this a family friendly show, but that was I was like, wow, bye. So I mean, I'm not sure if I even responded. I think I said nope and walked away. Like, I'm not going to look at, not only am I not buying that, I'm not going to look at anything else in your booth. Like, I'm out.
I
Poten-
legit don't think you walked past them
uh,
again. Like,
Potential customer scrubbed. Like, just
yeah,
gone. See ya. So just, food for thought, guys. Like, know what you want for it. And if he thought 55 was fair, then he'd have been happy with 55. It's $55 he would have had. So anyway, long story short, finished up looking, kind of made my list of everything that I wanted, kind of figured out what made sense to go after. We could talk all day about stuff I saw that I wanted that I didn't get, but the first thing I was going to go ahead and snag was because where we sat down and kind of huddled up, like you guys, we all got together and huddled up and talked about the plan and what we were going to go get, and it was right there by the Valaverse booth where I got to see that Vanguard vehicle. And I was like, you know what? They have that bundle. That's a pretty good bundle. That's a pretty good deal. I'm going to go get that and maybe two or three of their figures. And it was kind of hard. There's a common theme, and I don't go to a lot of cons. Like I think this is the second one I've ever been to. The first one was the same thing last year, right? I don't go to a lot of them. And this may be very common, but there's a lot of these vendors at these booths where people are walking up and they're not customers. They're just chatting them up. They just want to talk about stuff. They're hype about this. They're into this, and they just want to talk about it. And as much as I appreciate that, the people that are running the vendors are out here trying to make they're paying booth fees, right? Like they're trying to make money selling stuff because they paid money to be here to sell stuff. So For some of them, it's a full-time business. For others, it's just collections they're unloading. But either way, they're trying to recoup funds that they paid to travel here, rent a booth, do that kind of stuff. So when you're just walking around and you're just chit-chatting with these dudes, and there's people in their booth trying to ask them questions, trying to shop, like, be respectful and stop talking and let them handle their customers. And then when there's no customers, they can come chit chat with you. I ran into that multiple times. Back in my previous job, we used to call those people time vampires because they would show up and just suck your time away and they don't really give you anything in return. And maybe your argument would be that good conversation is its own reward. And potentially, but when you're there to try to make money, try to sell stuff, it's not its own reward. Like, I'm here to make money. And if you don't want to, don't interfere with me talking to my customers. But anyway, the Valaverse booth, I kind of had that experience where there were kind of waited in line. And by the time I got up there, somebody else had shown up and I guess he knew the guy by name or he was asking for somebody else that was maybe one of the owners or creators of the Valaverse stuff. And anyway, just kind of interrupted and started chatting the guy up. And so that already kind of irritated me, because this dude's kind of being a tool and can see that there's people waiting in line. And second, because the guy at the booth wasn't doing what he should be doing, which is, hey man, I got a line. Let me get with these guys, and then I'll answer your questions. That you just walked up when everybody else is waiting in line later. So anyway, I did finally get to talk to them. They didn't have the bundle in stock. They only had the vehicle and basically the price. He was like, "Oh, but we have all that on our website." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but I want to buy the bundle that's priced differently for the con. I don't want if I want to buy the website, I could do that anytime I want to. So anyway, I didn't buy that. I was a little bummed at that. Excited about their stuff. Really like what they're doing.
What,
But
what I'm what I'm confused about is Valorverse was one of the biggest booths there. So
yeah,
why didn't they have just more than one person behind the booth?
yeah, that's a really good
That's my
question.
issue.
Uh, I,
Because if they would have had another person, that's not an issue. But
well,
they
I
only
think
had
they,
one person there.
yeah, I think they had three people. But what had happened is one of them went to get lunch, which it was about that time. It was after lunch. It was
Yeah,
late lunch, but one of them went to get lunch. The other one was just out wandering the con, looking at stuff. So what you had was three guys there to man the booth, but only one guy actually manning the booth. So to your point,
it
Mike,
was
like, yeah,
it was like government work, right? One
right, yeah,
person doing the work, two other people looking at
exactly. So
them.
it's an excellent call out you make. Like, hey guys, send one guy to get lunch and keep two guys at the booth because their booth was consistently busy
Mhm.
with people. So I mean, they certainly had enough people there to have multiple people working the booth. And so anyway, a lot of the reason they didn't get my money at the con was, I mean, part of it was because they didn't have the full bundle, and part of it was because they kind of hacked me off when I've been waiting in line, and they chose to address somebody else who just walked up out of the blue and started chatting them up.
Also, the thing about it is so there's no way in their system to for them to place an order for a customer and validate the pricing at the con. Like that that doesn't strike me as is a either you don't have the system that can support manual orders from a vendor or from a person like yourself, or like you're just not into making that sell at the sell price. So maybe you had only budgeted X amount and you're only going to take X amount of sales. So I'm curious on like from a business side perspective of what the deal was. So if you have a crappy system, you should probably address that, right? But if your bottom line and your business development people get together and say, hey, we're only going to do this many, so that's our budget.
Yeah,
So
which
uh,
makes sense if that's the case. That would make total
yeah.
sense. And I'm not upset with them for selling out. Like how like it's okay that you saw the
Oh,
bundle.
that's good.
It's yeah, good for you. It's frustrating that I waited in line for not forever, but probably 6 or 7, maybe close
Yeah.
to 10 minutes to come up and talk to the gentleman, ask him some questions, and got immediately stepped on by some random dude who you can't help that some random dude walks up and steps all over, conversation cuts in line, whatever. You can help how you handle that, and you handled it incorrectly. Um,
Yeah.
so peace, we're out. We'll move on. So I had found one of the things on my list that I had found was a classified his tank. It's on my list. I talked about it, called that shot previous episode, and found one immediately. Gentleman was asking, in my opinion, too much money for it. And we'll talk about another common theme that we started hearing a lot. And it's I haven't heard this before at a lot of these conferences, and I certainly don't hear this when I'm negotiating with people on other similar activities. So this was interesting. I started talking to the guy, and he was asking $500 for the his tank, which you will see them selling for 500, 550. Like, people do buy them for that. But you will also see them selling on eBay, which is what I kind of look at to kind of price it out, like sold listings on eBay. And you'll see them selling on eBay for 450, 440, 460. So, and when you're selling it on eBay, you sell for 460. Well, you're not getting 460. You're getting 460 minus the eBay fees, minus the shipping if you didn't charge extra for shipping. So, you're getting a fair amount less than that. So that kind of sets the value for somebody selling in person for me in my head. So as I started talking to the gentleman, his commentary was, "Well, I bought that one to bring it here and flip it." Because he bought several that he backed and he's keeping, but he bought that one specifically to bring and flip it. He said he paid 460 for it, which great. What you paid for an item, unfortunately, has almost nothing to do with what it's worth. Doesn't matter what you paid for it. What matters is what the market says it's worth. What the average person that is buying that will pay for it. So I made him what I thought was a fair offer. He countered my offer with decent offer, not a great offer. There's another figure he had that wasn't necessarily on my list, but one that I have wanted for quite a while. I got it right here. Major Blood, Cobra Island. He was asking 40. So I worked out an acceptable deal with him for both of them. I paid more for the his tank than I wanted to pay, more for the his tank than I actually told myself I would pay. I will be honest. Part of the reason I did that is I wanted to bring that home from the con for the channel. I wanted to do an unboxing of that for the channel. And I made the decision that I can live with paying a little bit more than I planned on paying for this. So I ended up buying the Major Blood here, which he has listed for 40, and the his tank, which he had listed for 500. I paid 510. So I choose to say that I paid $40 for Major Blood, and I paid $470 for the his tank, because that makes my heart feel a little bit better about it. You can cut that up however you want. So bought those two things. That was the first things I bought at the con, was those two things. Immediately went to another booth, which was literally across same aisle, on the other side of the aisle, two booths down. I had found something else. I shouldn't say Mike found this. So huge shout out to Mike for spotting this sucker in the wild. And think it'd be really easy to spot, but I didn't spot it. Mike did. And that's this bad boy, Sky Patrol Sky Striker, which
Such a beaut.
it hurts my heart to tell
Howdy.
you, it's still in the freaking box. And that should give you some idea of how freaking nuts this week has been, that this is still in the box, because this would not be in the box if I had time. It
You
would
got a
not be.
flag to build, man. Like
I do.
you've got quite the
Yeah.
little queue.
Yeah. So went to that gentleman's booth, and he had that listed for 300, which is too much. And I knew that was too much, and I was not going to pay that for it. And started talking with him and negotiating with him, and he was asking about the his tank that I was holding at the time, and he was like, "Well, what's that?" So I classified his. He's like, "Oh, what'd you pay for it?" I'm like, "Oh, I told him," and he's like, "Oh, So we started negotiating the deal on this capital skyscraper. He's like, "Well, I would have taken what I offered him." He was like, "I would have taken that if you'd bought my his tank." And I said, "What do you mean you're his tank?" And he points up in the corner of his booth where there is a box up on the top shelf facing away. And this is not the his tank box, ladies and gentlemen.
It's
This
the
is the
shipping
brown
box.
shipping box, um, nondescript box. And Joe captures this really good. If you watch our blog, he actually captures this box as it was displayed, and you should look at that and realize, like, nobody that walks in that booth is going to look at that and think, "Oh gosh, he's got a classified his tank up there." Nobody would know what it was. I blame myself because I didn't look around and acknowledge that that box is the appropriate size for that,
Mm,
and the
I
price
think
You
that's
is.
just a
can't.
little lazy on
No.
his end, man. Like,
It
Yeah.
was very poorly displayed, very poor marketing. Like, it was done really bad. And anyway, it
Honestly,
was
he
for.
probably didn't want to sell it. He's like, I'm just gonna set
yeah.
this out, but I don't want to. I don't want to actually let it go.
Well, that could be, but he certainly didn't have any compunction about
Letting you know.
ticking me off. Yeah, let me
Yeah.
know that I paid. He was asking 420 for it, which was a great price. an outstanding price. And if you little insight into me, I do not object to spending money on hobbies and things that you enjoy, as long as you are taking care of all the adult stuff first. I'm okay with that. I am massively against wasting money. Spending more for something that you don't that than you have to spend is wasting money, in my opinion. So that immediately hit me right in the gut. Like here's like 30 feet away. Here's a his tank for $80 less than what this other guy was asking, and I just didn't see it. In my defense, it's very poorly displayed. It's very poorly set up. It would have been hard for anybody to see that and know what it was. But that burned me up. That was tough for me to take because that was on me. I don't blame anybody but myself, but that really sucked to and that happens, guys. It's a
But in your defense, the money you saved from that Sky Patrol Sky Striker kind of nullified what you had overspent on that his tank. Because it's not like you paid $300 for that Sky Patrol
no,
Sky Striker.
I
You
did
you
I
got a
did
nice
not.
chunk dropped off.
I
So
did. The dude was willing to bargain, which was great. And he gave me what I thought was a fair price on the Sky Patrol Sky Striker. I think we made a fair deal on that. It just hurts my heart that I could have saved even a little bit more.
dude, he came back with a $40 bump.
Yeah.
Like he went from 300 to 260 on his main offer. Like that
Yep.
is unheard of. Like
Yeah.
I was shocked when he said that. Like I said, when he said 260, I was like, ugh. I was gonna buy it at 300. I wanted to give you first shot at it because I was like, man, not only am I seeing this in the wild right now, it's it's already been opened, and
Yeah.
I get it in the box. So
Yeah.
like the decision is made for me that I can take it out of the package and put it on display. Also, I get the cool looking box because that is a really cool looking box.
It is
Because
So
a
I
it's
cool
was
so
like,
box.
shiny.
It's very shiny. It's
Tyler,
a
Tyler is the figure guy, so I'm gonna give him first crack at it. And then when he came back to 260, I was like, oh my gosh, Tyler's gonna get this thing. As soon as he said 260, I was like, yeah, I'm not getting this thing.
yeah. I was gonna buy it at 260. I didn't snatch that right away. I will tell you, like I made him. I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to, I mean, I'm a
Well,
negotiator at heart. It's what I am. So, but yeah, made a good deal on that. I'm very happy to have it, and cautionary tale. Like it's gonna happen, guys. You go to these kind of things, and it's gonna happen. Just I at the end of the day, I've made my peace with it by reminding myself that I made the decision to spend what I spent on the his take, and I was okay with spending that much on it. And so I still need to be okay with spending that much on it. And so, made my
yeah,
peace with it. But at the time, I was a little hotter to the collar.
I think it's also a good practice to kind of have a bingo price on what you're willing to pay. Like for that Tiger Force Lifeline, I wasn't willing to spend over $60. Like that was my bingo price, including the card and all the accessories,
Yep.
and that's about how much I spent. So when you're making those big purchases like that, his tank have that bingo price of I'm not paying more than X. And
Yeah,
I think Tyler, you even met your bingo price. Like you
I
didn't
did.
pay more than 500.
I did.
And so
I did okay. And then it helped me out a little bit. The Sky Patrol was a good worked out okay. And then as I was walking out, we didn't Mike had the brilliant idea, which was a brilliant idea to make one more pass before we left. And so I'm walking down through, and one of the things that I saw there that was spectacular to me was that was on my list was a refrigerator Perry. And I found
yeah,
one at a booth that was sealed in the bag. And apparently the story was, don't know if you could ever prove this, but the story was that never got shipped out. It came from Hasbro. So whoever got that was like, I got it from Hasbro. It never got shipped out to anybody. And I had never seen one of those sealed in the package. So that was really neat just to see, but it was $150. And my thinking on that was, I'm going to open this. I want this figure. I want this figure in my hands. I can't pay a sealed package price for something that I'm going to then immediately open. And I also don't think that that should be open. There's got to be very, very few of those in the world that are still sealed in the package. So that shouldn't be opened. And so I'm not going to do that. But in Mike's final pass that we did, I happened to look over to my right, and a booth I had passed already twice and didn't see it. They had this guy. He's in the wrapper, so you can't hardly see, but that is a refrigerator Perry complete. His mace is there. File card is there. It is the red file card. This is the mail-in refrigerator Perry for $50, which is a fantastic price. So that helped me chill out a little bit because I saw that and I was like, whoa, I need that. So he was on my list. So three things I put on my list for JoeCon, I came away with at JoeCon. So super, super excited about that. Walked around the corner and I found an Admiral Keel Haul, which is something else I had been looking for. And I didn't find a keel. I found several refrigerator Perrys, but prices were crazy. I had not seen the Keel Haul. Actually, I think Mike, you found the Keel Haul too. Like you got the keen eye for this stuff, man. You're hunting this stuff down. And I found a keel haul with the gun. And if you don't know, Admiral Keel Haul is a figure that came with the USS Flag. My flag did not come with a keel haul. So I don't have that figure. It's a figure that I want. His gun alone, it's just a little silver pistol. It's a little bitty pistol, $75 for the gun alone, which is bonkers to me. This guy
Dumb.
had the, it's
It's
bonkers. This guy
dumb.
had the, he had the keel haul and the gun, and I think he was going to take $90 for the two, which when you consider the gun is $75, like, man, that's a really freaking okay deal on keel haul. And I could have flipped the gun. I didn't want to mess with any of that, but I wanted a keel haul. What I do like, I don't care as much about the gun. I did care about the file card. So I wanted the file card. So I knew that we were going to make a run by Dallas Vintage, and they typically have figures. So I called Dallas Vintage from the conference and to confirm if they had the keel haul with the file card. And the gentleman that answered the phone said, yes, we have one. It does have the file card. It's $65. I'm like, cool. I'm not going to buy this one for 110 or 90. I can't remember what it was. I will go buy the $65 one with the file card because that's what I really want. That was the end of JoeCon. We left there and we went and ate our delicious barbecue and then headed over to Dallas Vintage where things went downhill. You want to tell that story now or we want to wait on that? What do we want to do?
No, go for it. Because I just
for
So we got the Dallas Vintage. We walked in and we're kind of looking around, and one of the younger male associates walked up. Dude was, I don't know how old he was. Everybody looks younger than me these days, but younger dude. He walked up and he's like, hey guys, anything I can help you with? And I said, yeah, actually, I called in. You guys have a Admiral Keel Haul with the file card, and I want to buy that. So if you would grab that for me, I would appreciate it. And we're going to keep looking around. He kind of looked at me. He's like, okay, who'd you talk to? I said, I don't. Whoever answered the phone is who I talked to. I don't know. Well, was it a young guy or an old guy? Well, I couldn't see him. So I don't know. Okay. Cool. Well, those guys, there's probably one of those guys over there if you want to go talk to them. And I'm like, you asked me if you could help me. I'm telling you how you can help me. I don't understand why you're trying to defer to somebody else. I didn't say that, but in my mind, I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Just, so anyway, eventually he's like, well, I'll go talk to them and I'll go figure it out. So he went over and he apparently found the guy that I talked to and came back to me and says, okay, it's in the back. I'm going to go get it. Sweet. I said, I'm going to keep looking around. Just find me when you get it and let's do it. And so a couple minutes go by and he comes over and finds me and he goes, listen, so the guy you talked to on the phone made a mistake and he misread our website. We have the keel haul, but we don't have the file card. I was like, oh, that sucks. I said, man, I could have bought one at this conference I was just at before I came over here and I don't have the option to go back. That's really unfortunate. I said, okay, well, $65 with the file card. How much is it without the file card? And he goes, oh, it's $65. And I was like, well, I was quoted the price of $65 with the file card. Now you're telling me that it doesn't have the file card. Do you want the same price? Yeah. Do you want it or not? And I was like, I'll think about it. And I'll let you know. I'll be looking around. And in my head, I'm just mad. Cause that's just should have just bought the one at the freaking con. And then I could have tracked down a file card. You should have just done that. And, that really, really annoys me. I understand that people make mistakes. Like I'm not upset that the dude messed up and said it had a file card when it did. I am a little upset that you acknowledge that he gave me the wrong information on the phone, and you have made no offer of concession to make that right. And I'm not expecting somebody to come give it to me for half off or something like that. But hey, 5, $10 off, 10% off your purchase today, 5% off your purchase today, $10. And we'll sell it to you for 55 instead of 65. Like, do something, make some kind of concession. Well, he walks off. I'm angry. It's a polite way to say I am angry at this point. That is very frustrating to me. And it wasn't like he didn't say sorry or anything. He just was like, yeah, he misread it, and it's $65, and you want it or not, kind of to take it or leave it kind of thing. Like a couple minutes later, probably about 10 minutes go by, and the guy comes walking back over. Really, what I'm thinking is he's going to walk off because I'm not just going to buy it, and maybe they'll talk and come back with and offer something for the headache and for to kind of make up for the mistake. And I've got like a handful of stuff, guys. I've got like I don't remember how many figures I had, like 5 or 6 figures, including a classified Chuckles. Like I had probably $150 worth of stuff in my hands. And the kid comes walking back over, and I'm thinking, okay, here we go. Thank you. They're going to do the right. This is a good place. They're going to do the right thing. And he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, we've been talking." And I'm like, "Cool. Now this is exactly what I want to hear. Like, you're talking about it. You guys are going to figure out how to make this right. This is great." He goes, "We've been talking, and we need a decision on that keel haul." And I was just like, "What? What do you?" He's like, "We need to know if you want it or not." And I was just, if you ever seen Inside Out and you've seen the red dude that does anger, and when he
Rage,
gets
yeah.
mad, he rage, he shoots the fire out of his head. Like, that was, if I was capable of shooting fire out of my head, there'd be fire shooting out of my head because I'm like, holy crap. Not only did you guys tell me something that wasn't true, make no effort whatsoever to make up for the fact that, acknowledge the fact that I passed on an opportunity to pick this up where I was and came here to get it from you. You make no effort to make it right. But then you're going to come over here and demand that I make a decision immediately, like I'm somehow offending you by having you sit on that behind the counter, this little 3.5 inch, 3.75 inch figure behind the counter in a plastic bag. Like, that's somehow in your way so much that you have to come demand a decision from me immediately. And that you apparently discussed it with somebody else. And the consensus was to come demand a decision immediately. So, Dallas Vintage, it's a store. We've talked about it multiple times on this channel. It's a great honey hole of a store. They've had historically pretty good selection of stuff. Pricing is, some of it's really good, some of it, well, I'll say really, some of it's good, some of it's not good, but selection is usually really good there. They have a lot of neat stuff. Chances are you're going to find something that you want there. And I will tell you right now, I didn't put back everything. I put back almost everything. I should have bought nothing, but I wanted something to fiddle with in the car, so I did buy one thing. I used well, I bought something for Mallory because I needed to bring my daughter a present back home. And then I bought myself something to fiddle with in the car. But first of all, Dallas Vintage, do better. That was a very poor customer experience. That is not the way you should treat people. I'm not telling you should come give me some massive dealer opportunity for half off because some dude made a mistake on the phone, but I am saying you got to make some kind of concession. At the very least, a manager or somebody come over and apologize. Just, hey man, I'm really sorry that happened. Like, we can't sell this thing for less than that, or if we could, we would. But when I bought the last year when I was there, I spent, I don't know, $400 or $500, and they gave me like 10% off of a couple of my Joe vehicles that I bought. So I know that they can negotiate pricing. So they have the flexibility to do that on some stuff. They don't know me from Adam. They don't realize that I'm the guy that bought the flag from them in December. But you never know. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm a whale of a customer for them or anything like that. But I have spent a lot of money there, and you never know who you're making mad. So, two things: Dallas Vintage, do better. Number two, listeners, watchers, friends, if you are aware of something, a vintage toy store that carries Transformers, GI Joe, Halo stuff, Warcraft figures, another vintage toy store in Dallas, tell me about them. Put them in the comments. Let us know. I
Definitely.
have, I officially I'm not saying I won't go back there, but I am officially looking for alternatives. I won't go back there if I don't have to.
I will say this for the mint in box people. I noticed that with the Spider Gwen, how there was two in stock, but two had different prices. You ended up getting the cheaper one,
Mhm.
and it was only $5 difference, like a $5 or $10 difference. And you said yours was a repack,
It was a repack.
and there was no label or anything discerning. And as a Minton box guy, that is very worrisome because you shouldn't have unopened and repacks on the same shelf without some kind of label. I mean, you don't got to be fancy with the label. It can just be a post-it that says repack. Like because I guarantee you they did not pay the full price when they bought that from a customer. They got a discount. So it just looks from an outsider's point of view that you're trying to double dip. You're trying to get the discount when you purchase it, and you're trying to get the markup when you sell it. And like, I'm sure all of their figures aren't like that. They don't have, I'm not saying every one of their figures is. It just raises a red flag and makes me, like Tyler said, want to look for a different spot because that is terrifying as a mint in box collector to have repacks. And it's not like I sit there and inspect the figure. Like I'll give it if I was really interested in the figure, I would have gave it a rattle, and I would have. That's like the number one tell, right? Because if it's like once you remove the pieces out of the plastic molding, when you put it back in there, that plastic's just a little bit weaker, so it might not hold everything, and that's just one of the ways I tell. But also, you can look at the sides and the tape, and there's ways to tell. But when I'm going to a reputable place that I trust, I shouldn't have to do that. And now when I go to Dallas Vintage, I'm going to do that because
Yeah.
that is alarming and
Yeah.
terrifying.
Yeah, I generally didn't know it was a repack until I got it home and gave it to Mallory and went to open it up for her and was like, "Oh my gosh, look at this! This is the foggy. This is a foggy piece of Scotch tape, not the clear Scotch tape that some of the manufacturers use. This was a foggy Scotch tape in an area where tape was anyway. It was very obviously when I looked at it to open it was very obviously a repack. Fortunately, all the parts were there, and that's okay. We were going to open
Yeah,
it anyway. Mallory has played with that a ton, had a great time with it, which is awesome. But yeah, they
because I
need to
thought
mark
they
that.
just weren't. I just thought they weren't updating their prices, and
Yeah,
that happens sometimes when they use like the kind of price tags they were using. Like, not
yep.
every they're not auditing their prices. That's what I thought. But it's like that was a repack, so it was cheaper, but it wasn't labeled as a repack. It looked like it was being sold mint in box.
Yeah,
And
it wasn't the price difference to your point wasn't enough to make it obvious like, oh, there's something I need to look at here. It was like I think it was $5, but
yeah.
whatever. Might have been 10, but it
So
wasn't
yeah,
enough to
if you guys know another spot that's reputable that a mint in box guy can go in and not have to worry about checking every figure that he buys, leave us a comment. We would
yeah.
appreciate that.
Yep. So that's my story, guys. The overall, obviously, I had some experiences that were unfortunate, and certainly got angry about a few things that happened. But by and large, positive trip. The conference was the actual show itself so much better than last year. Like, well
Yeah.
done, organizers. Like,
Yeah, they did a
keep that
great job.
location. Like vendors had great stuff. Like, really well done. Maybe we avoid the Georgia show and try not to be like the weekend after that and separate that out a little bit. But that's a minor complaint. It was a really good show. Great stuff. Good vendors. Nice people.
Yeah.
All in all, very positive. Very fun experience.
Also, maybe we leave an hour or two earlier and just go get lunch before we go to the convention. That way we can also hit In and Out. Like maybe hit the barbecue place and then hit the con, then hit Dallas Vintage, and then on the way out hit barbecue
Yeah, I mean the
or In
show
and
was so
Out.
good and the show was so good and so big that it kind of threw our schedule off. Like, we had no issues with our schedule last year
Mhm.
because it was smaller and we got through it quicker and we just weren't there. So this year it's like, oh, we're here for a lot longer than we were, and now our whole schedule after that kind of gets thrown off a little bit to where we were literally, I think when we left Al's Vintage, we were one of the last people to leave. They closed the store
It closed, yeah.
while we were in line checking out. So definitely got a little tight on scheduling there. So anyway,
And and you both know that I keep crazy hours. So when I say we should go maybe a little bit earlier, you know what I mean. Like I'm willing.
I,
It's a bigger sacrifice.
yeah, we'll see how things play out next year. Who knows? I can't
Mhm.
tell you. I can't hardly tell you what's happening tomorrow. Yeah, I'm actually debating next year. I said all that to say I'm actually debating next year going on Friday. I don't know if you guys
Really?
are interested in any of that, but grabbing a hotel
Yes.
room and
Yes.
going on Friday and catching the 2 days. I would
Because
not have done that for the conference last year. For what we saw this year, yes, I will do that.
because
I
I'm having an issue right now where I have like user lose days, and they've switched my schedule to the point where I just can't dump all my days in December like they want us to. Because I have a job where I need to be there every day. So it would be nice to dump a few days, around June, July. Sorry, Jason.
Oh no, you're good. I think I actually might sit next year out, depending on like who they announce as far as like guests. I think I could sit a year out and not lose sleep over it.
Uh,
So
you got
Oh
time. You got time.
man.
We got time to think about that. We got time to think. We'll
yeah.
work on it. We'll work on it,
Well, it's also
fam.
really fresh too. So like right now, like the thought of doing another trip like that sounds that just is not on my bingo
I
card right this second.
mean,
So
we we can break up the driving because I know you bared that burden,
Yeah,
and
you
I
did
don't
all of
mind
it. So
driving because I get motion sickness,
right, but I
and
mind
driving
you
helps with
driving
that.
in Dallas because
Oh yeah, that's not gonna happen.
yeah,
I, I'm a bit aggressive, so then again, maybe I'd fit in Dallas. Like,
you probably would do perfect. But yeah,
hey man, I
yeah,
worked hard for that position. I'm not just gonna give it away. You got to take it, and I'm not gonna let you just take it.
that's right.
as long as I don't have to deal with the insurance people, like that's all I care about. So
Those are no fun.
Yeah,
all
yeah,
right, well, I think I think that's gonna wrap us up for this episode. Looking forward to enjoyed the trip, but also kind of looking forward to getting back to the squad series and just kind of the random musings that
yes,
we can come up with. So as far as the 2025 Dallas Fort Worth GI Joe Collector convention, and also getting barbecue at, I want to say the place is called Oaked,
That
and
sounds right.
yeah,
yeah. That place was really good. They had a red velvet cake that was delicious.
like the gooeyest mac and cheese, probably some of the best smoked turkey I've ever had. Just
Yeah, they were
really,
really
really
good.
good.
Oaked was really good, and it was a nice place where you could sit down and relax.
Yeah.
It was really
Well,
good place.
yeah. As far as all of that stuff, you guys helped us figure it out. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Other than
Yeah.
it's 4th of July and America and back-to-back World War champs. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy. Those of you, our listeners in the United Kingdom or England, enjoy going to work tomorrow.
Well,
Suckers.
remember this episode's coming out after, so
Oh, well, I hope you enjoyed going to work on the 4th of July because we did. We were blowing stuff up. So anyway,